Yismor LeDavid, Adonai Roi lo echsar, Binot asher yarbitzeni al menuchot yenachaleni, Nafshi yishovev, Yanacheni v'magle tzedek lema'an shemo. Kam ki helech v'gitz al mavet, lo irarai ki ata imadi. Shiftecha u'mishantecha hema yenachamoni. Ta'aroch lifanai shulchan neged surirai tishanta v'shemen roshi hosiri vaya ach tov v'chesed yirdifuni koyam echayai v'shaveti b'veit Adonai le'orech yamin.
The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. God makes me lie down in green pastures, leads me beside still waters, and restores my soul. You lead me in right paths for the sake of your name. Even when I walk in the valley of the shadow of death, I shall fear no evil, for you are with me. With rod and staff you comfort me. You have set a table before me in the presence of my enemies. You have anointed my head with oil, my cup overflows. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Eternal forever. Esainai el heharim, me'ayin yavo Ezri. Ezri me'im Adonai oseh shamayim va'aretz. I lift up my eyes to the mountains. What is the source of my help? My help comes from the Eternal, maker of heaven and earth. God will not let your foot give way. Your protector will not slumber. Behold, the protector of Israel neither slumbers nor sleeps. God is your guardian. God is your protection at your right hand. The sun will not strike you by day, nor the moon by night. God will guard you from all harm. Adonai yishmor tzetecha uvoecha me'ata ve'ad olam. May the Eternal guard your soul in your going and your coming, now and forevermore. For our beloved Barbara Miller, who was a woman of valor and so much more, we read from the book of Proverbs. A woman of valor who can find? Her worth is far above rubies. The heart of her husband trusts in her, and nothing shall he lack. She renders him good and not evil all the days of her life. She opens her hand to the needy and extends her hand to the poor. She is robed in strength and dignity and cheerfully faces whatever may come. She opens her mouth with wisdom. Her tongue is guided by kindness. She tends to the affairs of her household and eats not the bread of idleness. Her children come forward and bless her. Her husband too, and he praises her. Many women have done superbly, but you surpass them all. Charm is deceptive and beauty short-lived, but a God-revering woman is much to be praised. Place before her the fruit of her hands. Wherever people gather, her deeds speak her praise. Death has summoned our beloved Barbara T. Miller. Our souls cry out unto you, O God. What are we? Are we the creatures of dust whose destiny is but to return to the dust from which we came? The ancient sage has taught us the spirit of the human being is the lamp of the eternal. Not even the darkness of death can extinguish the light which the eternal has kindled in the sanctuary of the human spirit. Therefore, O God, we thank you in this solemn hour for that which was deathless in the life of our cherished Barbara, and which is now revealed to us in all of its beauty. For her love that united us in life and which death cannot sever. For her companionship which we shared along life's path and which still continues through the tenderness of memory. For the gifts of her heart and of her mind, which brought us joy and happiness and now have become a precious heritage of the Spirit. For all these and more, we give you our praise. Grant unto us, O God, the strength of all the generations of our people, who in the face of bereavement proclaimed, Adonai Natan, Adonai Lakach, Yehi Shem Adonai Mevorach. God has given, God has taken away. Still, blessed be the name of God. Imagine you're at a movie theater, anticipating some great story to be revealed on the big screen. As you wait patiently for it to begin, you're entertained by a few interesting questions. Who was the love of Harlan Miller's life? Of course, it was none other than Barbara Friedman Miller. When did they meet? 7th grade. What were their nicknames for each other? Har and Bar. Who was the loving protector of Melissa and Erica? Of course, none other than Barbara Miller. When the three of them worked together at the Silver Screen Media, what did the girls call their mother as a sign of affection and professionalism? Babs. Who worried about Sophia, Bianca, Nick, Ben, and Lexi, even more than their own mothers? Of course, the answer again, Barbara Miller. And what was the name that Sophia gave to Barbara because she could not say grandma, and which came to be the name by which many in the family would know her and even her friends? Gaga. In advertising, they tell you to stick with one name so that the product is identifiable. Yet in this case, whether we knew her as Barbara, Bar, Babs, or Gaga, she was one of the most recognizable people in our lives. Any one of Barbara's names would connote strength, determination, compassion, elegance, confidence, friendliness, wisdom, loyalty, and passion. When we think of Barbara, we immediately conjure the image of a devoted wife, mother, grandmother, daughter, sister, sister-in-law, aunt, and friend to many, who lived a life of purpose and whose nurturing character gave strength to others to do the same. Perhaps you noted the irony of Barbara passing during the Super Bowl of advertising genius. Her passing also corresponded to the Torah reading known as Mishpatim, in which the Torah transitions from grand sweeping stories of the Israelites' liberation from slavery and the dramatic revelation at Mount Sinai, great movie themes, to a long series of laws detailing the way one should live a life of consideration for others. So it is in this moment for us, as the stories of Barbara's life beautifully lived reveal the details of how to achieve similarly for those she loved. Barbara's life can be placed exactly in her huge Friedman family tree. She's a link in the generations that traces back to the 1700s in Poland, that leads to the first family that incorporated in New York so that they could pool their funds in order to bring people to the United States. As the daughter of Pauline and Phil Friedman, her place is found alongside her older brother Fred on branch 22 of the family tree. If you don't know, that's quite a far ways down. She was a devoted daughter, and even more so, she was a devoted granddaughter to Ray Bijak, with whom she shared a bedroom for many years and from whom she drew much wisdom. When Barbara was in 7th grade at Cleveland Heights Grade School, she was part of a group of kids which included this cute guy named Harlan Miller. While she had a crush on him, her grandmother would tell her to move on. He's just a chair warmer, she said. Finally, in their senior year, he asked her to prom, and as they say, the rest is history. While her brother, 5 years Barbara's senior, and her self-appointed chaperone, would come home late at night to sit on the couch with them, Barbara was excited for their beautiful, storied romance to lead to a life together. Barbara attended OSU, but by the second year she felt a magnetic pull to Cleveland, where Harlan was studying at the art school. She finished here with a business degree, and they were married in 1963, and even her grandmother approved. What a handsome couple you made, and what fun you had together, and with that group of friends from your young years, and with the ones whom you collected over your 55 years together. Harlan and Barbara epitomized the ideal of marriage in the Sheva Brachot, the 7 wedding blessings of our tradition, which calls upon you as Re'im Ha'ahuvim, as loving friends. Devoted to each other, Barbara's laugh and wittiness kept you entertained, and her sweet personality and sense of fun brought many new friends into your lives together and created many adventures as well. She was your trusted confidant and companion in everything, helping you to reach your goals and together creating a lovely way of life. Together, the two of you built one of the largest advertising agencies in Cleveland, with what Barbara referred to as her position as a co-president. But it didn't matter who held the title. Clearly, she was in charge. Passionate about anything she undertook, Barbara was creative and talented, and she had clear vision for the details of bringing things to fruition. Working together, she created a successful business. Working together to create a successful business was complemented by the way you both were committed to your charity work, which revolutionized some of the institutions of our community. When the Agnon School needed to raise funds, Barbara volunteered your combined efforts to create what would become the celebrated Agnon Art Show, which many of us attended. Together you traveled all over the country, discovering artists worthy of displaying their wares. And after Erica was diagnosed with juvenile diabetes, that became another pet project of hers, and she transformed what was a garage sale fundraiser into a front row extravaganza, bringing in the likes of Jay Leno and then renowned Bill Cosby. For Barbara, if something was worth doing, it was worth doing right and effectively. And that would be true of her efforts as a mother, too. For Melissa and for Erica, she was the one who encouraged you to try everything. She would stay in the freezing cold rain to watch you in cheerleading and to attend every musical or theatrical performance, applauding the loudest of all. She turned your dad from being a seat warmer to a seat saver, as Barbara invited everyone she knew to come and watch too. You have memories of shopping with your mom to dress you for school or for events, and those memories have her touching the fabric, feeling it for its quality to make sure it was worthy of her daughters. She wasn't really materialistic about things, but she always knew quality in fabrics and in friendships and encouraged you to hold similar standards. She'd tell you you represent the family, and she'd preach no schlock. And that covered everything, from the way you dressed to the people with whom you associated. She was all about quality versus quantity, from food to friends and cashmere sweaters to conspicuous shoes. And she was your friend's best friend, too, instilling similar values in them. Even Erica's college roommates would remark about how envious they were of the special relationship that your parents had and that you and your mother had, and how your mother would quietly mentor them without any effort. Easy to talk to if you faced a challenge, she was your courageous advocate and committed activist. She left no stone unturned as she spoke to doctors and school nurses to make sure Erica had every opportunity to enjoy a full life. And she herself, in an act of solidarity, vowed to abstain from sugar and kept to it even better than you did. When Melissa needed her heart mended from hurt, Barbara was your emotional cardiologist and your compassionate energizer. She was a fixer and a finder. Still, as an early entrepreneur working outside the home in the advertising business, she taught you to be self-sufficient as well. She instilled great confidence in you that you could figure things out and find your way through anything. That would become true for Greg, too, who knew that he could trust Barbara to always look out for his best interest as a son-in-law and even take his side when she knew that he was right. What a lovely relationship the two of you developed. And she was grateful also to Mike for his good cooking as of late. Barbara was visionary. Her entrepreneurial skills went into full service when her nephew Howard brought back news from California about some kind of trivia quiz questioning that was taking place preceding movies out there. Barbara transformed that idea into the silver screen media, and together with Melissa and then Erica launched a new business venture that captured the attention of moviegoers all over our country for over 20 years. Mommy became Babs in professional circles as the three of you admired each other's ease with people of every walk. Barbara modeled that way of being approachable. She would befriend the person on the other end of a wrong number dialed on the telephone even. She went out of her way to make sure that anything anyone needed was there waiting for them, even before you knew that you needed it. Before you knew you were cold, she had a whoopee around your shoulders. That would be a pashmina for the rest of us. At the first sniffle, you'd find her homemade matzo ball soup arriving at your door. If she found something good at the grocery store, she'd buy it for everyone. Plums or produce magically appeared on your patio. And if you actually spoke up that you liked something of hers, she'd take it off and give it to you right then, or make it happen for you. That was especially true for the grandchildren. If she was protective as a parent, then your Gaga was going to be even more so with each of you. Her first grandchild, Sophia, came on Barb's birthday. No gift would ever match that. But she'd shower you with gifts on sleepovers every Saturday night for the first almost 9 years of your life. Eventually, of course, you'd have to share that with Bianca and with Nick, too. And when Ben and Lexi came along, your Gaga provided the house of fun and was the person at every play and performance. Gaga 5. That's what her license plate said. And she was ready to transport you anywhere. If Nick needed a ride to the dentist, she took you out of school and made it into an all-day event of fun and food with her. When Ben needed to go to Madison for a golf game, The woman who lacked a sense of direction finally figured it out. She couldn't take you home without feeding you too. And when she discovered the best ever brownies, well, she just had to keep going out to Madison to get them for you. She was determined that the best should be available to all her grandchildren, and she worried about each of you. For Bianca, your Gaga would walk and talk you across the college campus or on a long drive home to keep you company as you returned from work. She taught you to carry mace for protection, and in an effort to make sure that you knew how to use it, she even would send you a picture of a person with a target on them for practice. She'd leave nothing to chance. And Lexi, I know that she loved seeing you in all your adventures and your performances, and she worried about you flying to New York, even if you were joining Cantor Kathy and me on the confirmation trip instead of your brother. You were a big part of her life, and I know you'll have great, sweet memories. You'll remember how she wanted to make sure that all of you had not only the best, but that you were well hydrated. And she would pass over to you what she considered the best bottle of water, Fiji. They should pay us for this advertisement. And she was just trying to hold on for a little more to be able to enjoy your special milestones. With the boys exploring colleges, she was so excited for you. And when Greg brought pictures to the hospital of the last campus tour, Barb felt good about being a part of it all. For her Gaga 5, she loved being at all of your sporting events and shows and being a vocal part of the crowd for you and for all your friends. Her smile, her calming voice, her encouraging way, her non-judgmental nature, all of this and more, she has imprinted on your hearts and bestowed on you as her gifts in your lives. Barbara was a gift in so many lives of her extended family. With the Miller side in particular, there were wonderful holiday celebrations together. Like a sister to Maxine, Barbara took her to doctor's appointments and advocated for every good day, even as her own health was deteriorating and the cancer leaching out her own energy. Losing these two matriarchs only a few months apart is a tremendous loss for all of this family. For a woman who was obsessed with every detail, the details that we share of Barbara's life on this day are only a few. So many more of them, some trivia, but none trivial, are held with great fondness in the hearts of her family and her friends. Barbara bequeaths to us a big story of a life as a mother, a wife, a grandmother, a relative, a friend, and as an entrepreneur and a volunteer, all of which has made a huge difference in so many lives and in the life of our community. May her high ideals and her cherished memories be for us our great blessing as we join with the sages to declare, Zichronah Livracha, may her memory be our blessing. Amen. I'd like to call upon the Gaga 5, her grandchildren, to come forward and to share a few of their memories.
For those of you that have seen our grandmother's license plate any time over the last decade and thought, what does Gaga 5 mean? It's us. We are Gaga 5. We are her 5 grandchildren. I am the oldest grandchild, and I was born on her birthday. Gaga is what I used to call her because I had a difficult time pronouncing the word grandma. And here we are, 22 and a half years later. The name just stuck. It fit her. When we think of our Gaga, we think of how protective, selfless, and passionate she was about life. She's a true role model, our biggest cheerleader, and so much more. Our Gaga was protective over all of her family and friends, but when it came to her grandchildren, it was a whole other level of protection. A memory that sticks out in my mind is from my freshman year of college. I came back to my dorm after class one day to find a package addressed from Gaga. I assumed it would be a sweater or something of the sort because not only did she have a passion for shopping, but she loved her whoobies and was always so concerned about us being cold. But to my surprise, it was a box full of mace. And underneath all of that mace were targets for me to practice aiming at, since it was not something I was familiar with at all. When I called her to thank her for sending it, she went on to tell me about an article she came across on the importance of knowing how to properly use mace in a case where I might have to defend myself. And if you knew her well enough, that was so her. She was always reading articles on anything and everything, and she retained every piece of information she read. At the time, I thought the mace was a bit much, but I know that she had sent it to me because she cared about me. And she was all about preparing us for anything the world could possibly throw at us. And that's something I will always admire about her. This past Sunday, I rushed home as fast as I could from New York City. And she waited for me to get here to say goodbye to her before she passed. I am the luckiest granddaughter in the entire world to be able to call both her and Papa my grandparents. And it has truly been an honor to grow up having her as my role model. She is everything I strive to be, and I hope that someday I can turn out half as wonderful as she was.
I'm going to be sharing Bianca's story because she's having a hard time right now, and then I'm going to share mine. Gaga is the definition of selfless. The first memory that comes to mind for me is how much our phone calls meant to me. I often work late and have a long drive home. I would call Gaga, and Gaga would talk to me from the second I step out of work and make sure I got into my apartment safely every single time. She would constantly say, "Are you in your place yet?" As if I would ever want to get off the phone call with her. These phone calls made us so close. She knew me so well and supported everything and anything I said. There is something I will cherish forever, and she would make sure I was eating dinner immediately after the phone call, of course. Can't forget that. As I would be on the phone with her, I would insist for Gaga to tell me how she's doing, how she's feeling, anything about her. But she just wanted to know how I was doing, how my day was. It was never about her in her eyes. If there was ever a night where I wouldn't be on the phone with her, I did not feel as safe because she made me feel protected. I am looking forward to talking to Papa on my rides home because Gaga knew so much about me. She understood me the most because of our phone calls. I know I can no longer talk to her on the phone, but I know she will be driving home with me from work every night. As said before, Gaga had many traits that made her one of a kind. But when I look back on Gaga, one trait really sticks out to me: how passionate she was about living life. When I was a freshman in high school, I had braces. My orthodontist appointment was on the first Wednesday of every month. My mother and father could never take me because it was during work hours. So, there she was, from the first appointment to my last, Gaga, ready with the car engine running and the seat warmers burning. My orthodontist was at the Case Western Reserve School of Dentistry. I needed to be there by 8, and they usually ended near 9. So that meant I'd be getting back to school by 10-ish, right? No. Gaga always had another plan in mind. First, she'd take me to get a chicken sandwich at the same restaurant in Little Italy, because she knew how much I loved it. We then would end up on some excursion, driving, windows down, sun shining, and no care in the world that I probably had a math test. This was truly Gaga. She knew I had school, but getting out and getting a bite of life was more meaningful than whatever I was going to learn that day. But when Gaga was no longer able to drive, it was my turn to drive to her. In these past few months, I spent every Wednesday morning with her. My Gaga Wednesdays are memories I will hold close to my heart forever. And next year, when I take on the adventure of college, I know I won't be alone because she'll be right by my side.
So Gaga loved coming to everyone's events, no matter what that was. She came to every single golf tournament of mine that she possibly could. And one time I had one all the way out in Madison, but my mom was in New York. My dad was working that day, so of course she canceled all her plans for that day and decided to go take me out to that tournament all the way in Madison. But when she arrived at my house to take me, and I was going to put my clubs in her car, we found out that, or I realized that on top of my bag there was a giant spider, and it spun its web on top of all my clubs, the entire bag. So I'm terrified of spiders, still am. And she was probably the second worst person to have around when there's a spider incident. So her immediate reaction was to call Harlan. So she got him on the phone. So, Harlan, do something. The story ended when she took some hairspray and knocked the spider out. So then when we finally got into the car and we ended up in Madison, she had to get me something to eat before the tournament. I don't think she ever let anyone go hungry in her entire life. And we walked into some very small coffee shop. That was the only thing we found really to get something quick to eat in Madison. So we walked into a small coffee shop and found one large brownie on the counter. And that brownie turned out to be by far the best brownie I've ever had in my entire life. So after that tournament, we were talking about that brownie for the entire year. So when that tournament came around the next year, she insisted on taking me again. And I mean, we were curious if we were delusional with the brownies or if they were actually the real deal. So after the tournament was over, we went back to find the brownies. So, but the problem was Madison, we don't know the area that well, and it was one very small coffee shop. We could not find the place. We couldn't find it. But she would not settle for me not getting those brownies. She made Papa drive all over. It took at least an hour to find the place, but we finally did. When we finally did find the brownies, she wouldn't even let Papa eat one since we came just for me. Luckily, I was able to sneak one to him, and he agreed that that was the best brownie he'd ever had as well. So she is definitely the most selfless person I have and will ever meet, and she would do anything she could to support me. If I or anyone in my family even had a sniffle, she'd have matzo ball soup at her door in minutes, or however long it takes to make homemade matzo ball soup. I will forever be grateful to have known such a sweet, loving, and selfless person, and she definitely left a handprint on my heart, and I just want to say thank you for everything she's done.
A memory that I have of Gaga is one that's from not very long ago. A little less than 2 months ago, I was in a play at Dobama. Gaga hadn't left her house in a handful of months other than to go to doctor's appointments, and somehow she gathered up the energy to come to the opening of my show. Gaga didn't miss anything that anybody in the Gaga 5 participated in, and when she went to the events, she was always the one there that had the biggest smile and the loudest claps. Even in her weakened state at my opening for the show, I could see her in the audience, and she was still the one with the biggest smile and the loudest clap. She will always be our #1 fan. Thank you, Gaga. We love you.
If anyone has a favorite memory of our Gaga and feels comfortable sharing it with us over the next couple of days, we would really appreciate it.
I've heard it said that people come into our lives for a reason, bringing something we must learn, and we are led to those who help us most grow if we let them, and we help them in return. Well, I don't know if I believe that's true, but I know I'm who I am today because I knew you. Like a comet pulled from orbit as it passes the sun, like a stream that meets a boulder halfway through the wood. Who can say if I've been changed for the better? Because I knew you. I have been changed for good. It well may be that we will never meet again in this lifetime. So let me say before we part, so much of me is made of what I learned from you. You'll be with me like a handprint on my heart. And now whatever way our stories end, I know you have rewritten mine by being my friend. Like a ship blown from its mooring by a wind off the sea, like a seed dropped by a sky bird in a distant wood. Who can say if I've been changed for the better? I do believe I have been changed for the better. And because I knew you, because I knew you, I have been changed for good.
Each of us has precious memories of Barbara. We take a moment now as we silently compose the eulogy of our own hearts. Yehiyu l'ratzonim refi, v'hegyon libi lefanecha, Adonai tzuri v'goali. May not only the words that we speak, but even our most precious meditations and private memories be acceptable to you, our rock and our Redeemer. Amen. We ask God to accept Barbara's soul with the words of El Malay. Please rise.
El malay rachamim, shochen bamromim, am semen uchana chana tachat kanfech hashchina, במלות קדושים עוטרים, כי זוכר הרקיע מזהירים. את נשמת יקירנו, שהלכה לעולמה בגן עדן, תחיה מנוחתה. אנא ברחמים אסתירך, בסתר כנפיך לעולמים, בתצרור בצרoriך ימת נשמתה. אדוני הוא נחלתה, ותנוח בשלום על משכבה, ונאמר אמן.
Compassionate God, eternal Spirit of the universe, grant perfect rest in your sheltering presence to Barbara Miller, who has entered unto eternity. O God of mercy, let her find refuge in your eternal presence, and let her soul be bound up in the bond of everlasting life. God is her inheritance. May she rest in peace. And let us answer, Amen. You may be seated. Our service continues at the Mount Olive Cemetery, and the family invites you to be with them at the Village Clubhouse, which is 26,000 Village Lane, following the service until 5 o'clock. And tomorrow evening from 7 to 9. Today from 7 to 9, and tomorrow from 1 to 4 and 7 to 9. Friends who wish may contribute to the Juvenile Diabetes Research Foundation or to the Seidman Cancer Center of University Hospitals.